Children, have you ever met the bogeyman before? No, of course you haven't, for you're much too good, I'm sure. Don't you be afraid of him if he should visit you. He's a great big coward, so I'll tell you what to do. Hush, 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 here comes the bogeyman. Don't let him come too close to you, he'll catch you if
hydrochloric
he
acid
can.
because
Oh,
all of
you
the
could try
remnants.
white vinegar too.
Oh, white vinegar, that's a good plan. But the bones get. Oh, hello! And welcome to It Hails from the Crypt.
Yeah, welcome everybody. I'm Tim, and I'm joined by Fred.
We're here to talk about all things Tales from the Crypt related surrounding that HBO show that ran from the late 80s to the mid 90s. And today we're talking about the second episode, All Through the House, directed by Robert Zemeckis, written by Fred Decker.
This is a good one.
Yeah, a classic episode. One of the quintessential, I think, EC horror stories is
Yeah.
this one. So before we get into that, I thought we'd get into the background of the original comic and talk about how that came about. On the last episode, we gave you a little history on how EC Comics was formed, with Bill Gaines taking over for his father, Max Gaines, and getting into the comic business, hating comics until Al Fieldstein came in with his buxom ladies that he suddenly loved comics after seeing this guy's drawings. And they also became fast friends and loved horror and were like, we're going to do horror comics. From that point on, Bill Gaines became a huge champion of comic artists and really a great appreciator for comic art, so much so that he really sought out the best in the business to work for EC Comics. And Al Fieldstein, who was also a artist, started to put the word out to all of his other artist friends that EC Comics is the place where they'll give you the most freedom. You can do whatever you want. You can draw what you want, and you will get little interference or editorial, subjugation of telling you to redraw stuff because they don't like it. They really sought out artists that they loved and appreciated. And one of those artists was Johnny Craig, who was responsible for this story, All Through the House. Johnny Craig is, in my mind, when I think of quintessential mid-century 50s, early 60s comic art, I think Johnny Craig. Like every guy and gal in his repertoire looks like the classic, 1950s drawing.
Yeah, this one definitely, the way he draws all the characters in it has a very 50s feel. It feels like it should be on like a t-shirt someone wears ironically or retroactively, or
Yes, I think his style is so recognizable for that period. He was kind of the most restrained of the EC Comics artists. When I first started reading the comics as a kid, he was kind of my least favorite artist because he was so, I thought, boring compared to, there was another artist, Graham Ingalls, who went by the name Ghastly, was his nom de plume in his EC Comics. And he drew every detail, was like the most rendered
I've seen some of those,
artist.
swampy
They're really disgusting, like corpses, and really went out. He was a big influence, I think, on Bernie Wrightson, if you know that artist, the comic artist who did the famous Frankenstein illustrations.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the guy I really liked. And Johnny Craig, I've come to appreciate now. And now he might be one of my all-time favorites because of how clean and precise his artistry and storytelling is. He's one of the few artists who wrote and drew his stories. So most of the time, this is how it would work, is Bill Gaines was constantly on a diet, was always trying to lose weight. And back in the 50s, the Ozempic of the time was like methamphetamines, like benzodrine. And so he would be on speed pills and they would keep him up all night. And he would spend all night reading weird tales and short stories because he just could not go to sleep because he was on speed all the time. Then he'd come in the next day, meet with Al Filstein, and they would go over, okay, here's some ideas. And he'd go by the 47th idea, Al would finally go, okay, that's a great idea. And then they'd run with it. So consequently, they would also figure out which story would work for which artist. They really tailored.
They cast it properly.
Yes, they were like, okay, we have to do a really gruesome story for Graham Ingalls. The difference between that was when they would work with Johnny Craig, because he also wrote his stories, he would work directly with Bill Gaines on the story. And he was a much more suspense, psychological, less gory artist than the other, like Jack Davis or Graham Ingalls or even Wally Wood. Because of that, as reading this story, you could see that it's all in her head.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. That's like one of the main things that I'm excited to talk about when we talk about the differences between what was adapted and like the original story. And you're right. You nailed it.
What's ironic about that, he was the most restrained. He did all of the Vault of Horror covers, every single cover Johnny Craig did, and he also did covers for the other title, Crime Suspense Stories. And ironically, it was his cover for Crime Suspense number 22 was the famous cover with the woman's severed head on the cover.
Oh, yeah.
That was brought before the Senate committee and said, like, this is like disgusting, and awful. And this was ironically probably the most restrained of the EC Comics artist was Johnny Craig. And he was being pointed out as like the most disgusting
miscreant
artist. Miscreant.
Including the minds of our children.
Now, this is a fun little trivia fact. When EC Comics was first experimenting with horror stories in the back of other comics, he did the very first EC comic story. It didn't have a host like the Vault of Horror.
No horror host.
The Crypt Keeper, but it was a horror story called Zombie Terror that appeared in issue number 5 of Moon Girl in 1948. Yes, Moon Girl was like kind of a Wonder Woman, not the Marvel comic, but she was from outer space, and it was like Moon Girl and Prince, somebody would fight crime. And originally it was Moon Girl, and then it became Moon Girl Fights Crime, because they started out as a superhero comic, and then they tried to make it also a superhero true crime comic. They kind of mashed them together.
They're getting like warrants and stuff. They have to like secure a warrant from the moon.
Yeah, she would have to. Moon Girl had a lot. Most of it was legwork with judges trying to get search warrants
executed them,
signed, and whatever.
That's amazing.
So there you go. The other thing I want to bring up is that Johnny Craig was born in a town called Pleasantville, so that was his hometown.
I have a note to talk about Pleasantville later.
Pay attention to that, because there's might be an Easter egg or two about that. But let's get into the actual comic, which appeared in issue 35 of the Vault of Horror. This was the first issue that Johnny Craig took over editing duties as well. So he was the editor on the rest of the run of Vault of Horror, the rest of the 5-issue run of Vault of Horror. So he would write all of the intros of the Vault Keeper, little the
puns,
little pad or whatever. He would do all the puns, and he also introduced a co-host that appears the next issue.
Oh wow,
Drusilla, which was a pre kind of Vampira Elvira type character.
Keep talking.
Who would co-host? Who would co-host with the Vault Keeper, because most people couldn't tell if the Vault Keeper was supposed to be a man or a woman, the way that he was drawn. And they asked him, so is that why you created Drusilla so that you could clearly show that the Vault Keeper was a man. And he goes, no, it was really just an excuse for me to draw a beautiful woman on each first page of the story because
Dudes.
that's what he was good
Yeah.
at. Yes.
Yeah.
You can see that with this story all through the house,
Oh,
which
yeah.
stars this woman
She's a blonde.
who kind of looks
Yeah.
like the blonde. She looks like the classic 50s blonde, like, Lana Turner or Marlena Dietrich.
Yeah, very femme fatale. Very femme fatale.
Yeah. So what did you think? This was your
Yeah.
first time reading the
This
comic?
one, if I had read it as a kid when I went on my binge, I have lost that memory to time. But rereading it now with the lens of having watched the show and then gone to the comic and then gone back to the show, it's like a great sort of tapestry of like that suspense stories, that crime suspense stories. And it was kind of surprising to me that we never really see the insane maniac until the very end of the comic. Spoiler alert. But the fact that she's kind of trapped in this house and it's very sort of paranoia induced, like she obviously hears the messages on the, on the radio. But like we never get to go outside like we will in the television episode. So it creates this like really claustrophobic feel.
And reading it again, if you had not seen the other story or had read this before, there is a sense that maybe she's just gone crazy. And
Yes,
she,
100%.
because it's
dealing with guilt.
Yes, because it's all from her point of view. I think she's in every panel of the comic.
She is. And she's like, we open up with her already having, capped her husband with the poker.
Which is off screen, right? Like the murder is off screen. You see very little gore. Like it's very restrained, and it's very much more like a Hitchcock or like an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, very film noir kind of feel. Reading it again, I was like, I think he was trying to present this story as if she's going mad. Yeah. And then the catch ending is, oh, it was real all along, and he brought, her little girl brings Santa in as like, oh my God, she wasn't crazy. It was like happening all along. I also love her going down in the basement, trying to get rid of the body. Also, what I love about Johnny Craig's art is everyone is always like perspiring. Like on page 4, panel 3, she's just got sweat pouring down her brow. This lady is like just sweating.
Yeah,
like
or she's going
crazy.
for the lumber in the cellar. Joseph was always buying and picking up pieces of lumber, and silently she thanked him. And she's just sitting here in the dark, sweating as she's gathering just boards and nails and hammers.
Yes, so great. I think my favorite panel is also on page 4. It's the second to last panel with this giant shot of her eye. Oh my God. Oh God. It's him. It's such a great, suspenseful panel.
And a lot of like Dutch angles and stuff. Like they're just doing a lot of cool stuff. And I love that like she's not. We'll talk about this when we get to the TV and how the TV show adapted. But like she is. The TV hints that Joseph wasn't the best guy. Like he makes it like kind of a crack at her that like she's not intelligent and she's trying to get out of it. And obviously we'll see she's got someone else on the side. But here she's just like, you're a mouse. She got rid of him for the insurance. She has a daughter. So obviously like this whole she's trying to balance like, oh, I'm a mother too, with like, I got to hide the murder. I killed this little girl's father. This isn't a stepdad situation.
Yeah, I love her logic that which is set up in the radio program that this escape maniac stays away from children and only wants to kill women. And so her logic is, oh, I can leave my daughter alone because he only goes after women. He won't kill a child. And so
I think here's the actual quote.
He is believed to be headed north. Police officials state that he will not harm children and will only injure men if he's provoked. It is said that he is obsessed with the killing of women. All 4 women that he already has murdered had been attacked and viciously disfigured.
Like, it's just like very, very put that on the nose for us all so we know that this child's going to be okay too as an audience,
I really like this comic. I actually think it's pretty well written for the time. I think he adds so much to both what you're seeing and then what you're reading are never the same thing. So you're getting a lot of information from the text that you aren't getting from the
Yeah.
the pictures. He fills that in really nicely. And I think, like you said, all the dynamic angles that he has, it's very Orson Welles framing with these giant
Yeah.
feet in the foreground and her in the background. And you get a little bit of that in the TV adaptation, maybe a little, with
Yeah.
that one
Yeah.
shot of the corpse in the foreground and them
Yeah.
using a
The
split
split that.
diopter
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah. I have that note for when we get to that. Yeah, no, I think what's great about it is, and then at the end we see the ogre of a person just holding this cute little kid that, look, mommy, look, Santa Claus is here. I let him in. Like, just so sweet. And then just he's just staring at her. I love that final frame, and that's in the. It's not a close up of him. It's just like her in frame, and then him just like we know what's coming. You know?
Also, I was trying to look this up, but I think it's the first time you have a killer dressed as Santa
Oh,
depicted in
really?
media.
Yeah, this is like the 50s too, right? That's
Right. So,
and we
pretty
kind of had already.
taboo.
Yeah, and we just establish the red look of Santa via Coca-Cola campaigns around this time too?
Yeah, so pretty new. Well, Santa had always had a Father Christmas. The red
Yeah,
cloak was
maybe
always
green,
part
maybe
of
white.
it.
Yeah.
And you had, Krampus, which was sort of the evil side of
Hmm.
Santa. You had those mythologies, but you hadn't taken the like friendly Miracle on 34th Street Santa and turned him into a psycho killer
Yep.
before. I can't find any sort of
Yeah, I'd be
reference.
hard pressed to find it. It's like everything is so, pristine and nuclear family kicking off
Right.
in the
I think
1950s here that we're
it's such a taboo kicking moment to take like the classic 50s Santa and turn him into a homicidal maniac. I think it's a little bit of that Mad Magazine feel that EC
yeah.
Comics sort of invented of like, put everything on its head, break every taboo we can here in this comic. And I think it's so strong. It's I think the only EC story that's been adapted twice because it was in
Yeah.
the 1972 movie and it's also in the TV series. Have you looked at the 72 series?
I remember watching it on cable as a kid. Joan Collins is the mom.
Yes.
And there
Yes.
was like just like kind of an old. I remember the guy not really looking super creepy, but just being like an old white-haired Santa that didn't look like super. But that
Yeah, he
is a
looks
limited
he
memory. It was like
looks more like
1972.
an
Is
old like tramp basically has
yeah,
dressed up like
right.
Santa.
We'll have to talk if we make it through these 93. We'll have to get to the
Yeah,
movies.
we'll get to the movie and sort of compare. I looked at it a little bit last night just to see how different it was from the opening of the HBO Zemeckis episode, and
Mhm.
they do some different things, which are kind of interesting to talk about. We'll talk about that when we get
Yeah,
to the movie.
and it's like British, right? Isn't it kind of they're
Yes,
translating
yeah,
it? All these Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horrors that they did were kind of adapted into like the 1970s British um,
yes.
society versus like Americana.
Yes, it was Amicus, and they're very. The main thing is the tone. Is everything is much more stately. They don't
Hmm.
have that irreverent humor that you find in I think the comics and
Right.
in the HBO show. I think really nails that tone, and that's maybe the big failure of the 1972 movie is it treats it too seriously, and these are
Yeah.
not things to be treated that seriously. There is good things about it. We can talk about when
Yeah.
we get to the movie.
One final thing on this comic, which the last panel, the crypt keeper or the vault keeper, comes in and he's dressed as Santa, and at the end pulls his Santa mask off, which is already in itself creepy. But he says what I think might be the darkest outro, which is he says, It's me, the Vault Keeper. You didn't think we'd ever have the real Santa Claus in this horror mag, did you? Oh, I suppose you've been wondering just what I've got in this sack. Heh! It's only what's left of Carol's mommy after that maniac was through with her. And by the way, Merry Christmas. I thought that was dark.
Pretty dark. I guess we should point out at the beginning, the Vault of Horror, the Vault Keeper had a Santa mask on, which we'll talk about when we get to the TV episode, but a very interesting choice. Let's kick into it. So the one thing I want to mention before we get into that is Johnny Craig, during the height of the EC Comics run, you could send in to the comic for headshots of the Crypt Keeper, the Vault Keeper, and the Old Witch. And Johnny Craig put on makeup and played all three of those characters and was the star of like these signed, photos. I'll send them to you. That you could write in and get. And apparently this was so popular, according to Bill Gaines, he used the profits of that to send one of his office copy boys paid his college tuition just from those.
Oh, wow.
Because he's like, if you put these together, I'll take all that money. It can go into your college education. And this young copy boy was able to pay for all of his college from these things.
Oh my
now, back then, college did only cost like $200 a year. So it's not that much, but still significant contribution. Our episode today is brought to you by Santa Slayer Security Systems.
Tired of those pesky Santas getting into your house?
I hate Santa.
Who doesn't, Billy? Introducing the Santa Slayer, a home security system engineered specifically for your chimney.
Ho, ho, ho.
Motion sensors, heat sensors, sleigh bell detection. The Santa Slayer scans for all known Santa indicators. Nose as red as cherry, beard white as snow, belly that shakes like a bowl full of jelly. It works so you don't have to distinguish between a beloved holiday icon and an unidentified murderous psycho dressed as a Santa descending your flue after midnight.
Ho, ho, ho.
Another satisfied homeowner, the Santa Slayer. Because no one should enter your home uninvited.
Some restrictions apply. Reindeer and accidental murder of the real Santa Claus not covered.
Okay, so let's get into
the episode.
The second episode, the first episode to be shot, second episode to be aired. Once they signed on Robert Zemeckis to do the show, he said, I'm getting ready to go right into production on Back to the Future Part 2. I have like a 2-week window basically to shoot an episode to get it out.
Wow.
So they're like, we got to go immediately. We got Fred Decker on board to do the script. And we have five days to shoot this episode. And so they shot this in 5 days, turned around. They hadn't on a set. They hadn't come up with the Crypt Keeper yet. So they didn't know what that opening was going to be. And in my mind, I think that's why this is the second episode instead of the first episode, is because this opens with the Crypt Keeper walking through as Santa Claus with the sack through his little crypt. And then he throws a sack and he's wearing a Santa mask. So he's not immediately recognizable as the Crypt Keeper. And in my opinion, that's why they had Walter Hill's episode go first, because it's clearly the Crypt Keeper.
You need to establish what the Crypt Keeper looks at, so that when he does wear the mask, you're like, okay, you're there. He did have some jagged teeth that we saw poking through that plastic mask. It still looks incredibly creepy, and he has his
maybe more creepy than actually the Crypt Keeper as a puppet. There's something like uncanny about a puppet with a human mask on, so it's very creepy.
Yeah. Oh, this was also the first time I remember it, as many times we watched that opening crawl where it kind of goes through the sort of front of the house, is I never noticed the hanging wheel tire on the tree, which I don't know why. That's just like a little detail I had not noticed. And then it was funny how there's a wheel on a tree that will take place as a sort of a plot point in this episode.
The episode opens with this long tracking shot through all of the Christmas accoutrements, and then we end on character actor
Marshall Bell. Yeah.
who we know from Total Recall as
Quato.
Quato. He was the taxi driver with the mutant growing out of his body, which is probably his most memorable performance.
Yeah, he's got one of those faces that you just see in a bunch of movies in the 80s. And he was in Nightmare on Elm Street 2,
Part
I think,
2.
right?
Very
Part 2.
memorable in that as well. He played
it's like a coach, right?
He plays the coach who is really coded to being a gay predator. Like he's shown at a leather bar,
Okay.
a leather gay bar.
I think I remember that now. Yeah.
He comes on to the main character who is turning into Freddy, if you remember that that
I remember
version.
that.
And there's a shower sequence where he's like forcing him to shower. It's very creepy. But
Oh gosh.
anyway, he's very good at
poker.
playing
He doesn't even have that many lines. I think he says one line where he kind of demeans his wife.
Yes.
Like calls her like a name, and then she immediately pops him with the poker, just like in the comic, but we actually see it.
Yes, we see it. We hear that thud. And then the star of the show is Mary Ellen Trainor, who gives the great first line, which is what? Merry Christmas, you son of a bitch. Right?
Yes. Yes, it is a very good 80s line for sure. I mean, before we even get into that, like, look at the cast of people we have on this. Like, we've got Alan Silvestri doing the music, Dean Cundy doing shot it, Fred Decker writing it, Zemeckis is the director. I think I told you before, I've worked on 2 Zemeckis movies in my career. And one of them was a Christmas movie. I worked on the Polar Express when I was a young buck in Hollywood in visual effects.
Nice.
And we got to be in meetings with him, and he was doing a lot of work from telecommuting and flying his plane down from Carpinteria area. And then we'd hear him on phones a lot giving notes, because this is like, we're using motion capture, we're using a lot of 3D effects, and whenever he gave a note, he's like, you just put it in the Maya, just go put it in the Maya. Like, he was like, yeah, it's so simple, we just put it in the Maya. I know he was saying it to kind of temper the fact that we were getting notes and feedback and needed to make changes, but it was always very funny whenever he said put it in the Maya, because we would always kind of behind the scenes say like, oh yeah, we'll just put it in the Maya, guys, we got this. But he was like really nice.
This magic machine that would output.
Yeah, this magic machine box. It's almost like AI 30 years before it is now.
Well, he definitely.
everywhere.
So Zemeckis is, I think, such an interesting filmmaker. He started as kind of a protege to Steven Spielberg, right? Like he and Spielberg
They wrote 1942 together, right?
1941, yeah.
1941,
with Bob Gale.
Yeah.
And then he and Bob Gale did Back to the Future, which was a huge hit. But before that, he had done Used Cars and I Want to Hold Your Hand, those movies, which are very like nostalgia films. Well, I Want to Hold Your Hand is very nostalgic, very similar to, I think, American
Nostalgic
Graffiti.
for Used Cars.
Used Cars, not so much. Shows more of his like Mad Magazine, I think, sensibilities, but then became a very technology forward filmmaker from Back to the Future on. He did Roger Rabbit, which I've just watched recently, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I couldn't believe how complicated that must have been to make, to integrate the animation with the live action, having Bob Hoskins interact with water and
people pulling like strings to like hit pots and pans in the background. It's supposed to be him, Roger Rabbit flying around.
Just seems insane. So he goes from Roger Rabbit to Back to the Future 2, which also had even more effects because that's the one where they go into the future and they have to design all the future effects. And I think in between those two highly technical movies, he does this Tales from the Crypt, which really is all very low tech. I feel like it's
Yeah.
all shot on this one set, and it's all really focused on these two actors,
Yeah.
Mary Ellen Trainor and of course Larry Drake
Larry
as
Drake.
the killer Santa. Who
Let's talk
Larry?
about them.
Yes.
Larry and Mary Ellen. Like, let's start with, who do you want to go with first, Larry or Mary Ellen? Because they
Well,
both were just
Mary. Let's start
great.
with Mary Allen, who was married to Zemeckis at the time. They
Mhm.
met on the set of 1941, where she was working as a PA. She went to college with famous producer Kathleen Kennedy, who produced all
Yep.
of. So they were
Star Wars.
college friends together. I think very close friends. So she worked on a lot of stuff that Kathleen Kennedy produced, and met Robert Zemeckis on that. They were married for many years. They did some movies together. She's probably most famous for playing the mom in Goonies, or
Yeah.
she was
Die
in
Hard.
she was the reporter in Die Hard, which that character, I believe, also shows up in a movie called Ricochet.
Ricochet, yeah, I have that as my notes.
Which
Is like she plays Gail Wallens, so there's like Mary Ellen Trainor universe that
yeah,
connects Die
there's a
Hard with Ricochet.
Gail Wallen's universe with that, which was also written by Fred Decker, who wrote this episode.
Yeah,
Wrote
but Fred Decker
Ricochet.
didn't write Die Hard, right?
No,
Yeah.
which is weird. I don't know how they got away with that,
But he
they
did
did.
write Monster Squad, which she was in also.
Yes,
Yeah.
Fred Decker wrote Monster Squad. She also was the mom on Parker Lewis Can't Lose, if you remember that
I love that show.
TV show, and she was in all 4 Lethal Weapon movies as the police psychiatrist that they always have to go see and talk about how crazy Mel Gibson is.
Riggs is.
This.
Yeah.
And was also in Roswell for several seasons.
Yeah,
with
another Roswell connection 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, with William Sadler, which is pretty crazy.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah, she's great. I always love seeing her pop up in a movie in like the 80s.
Yeah.
Very cozy.
And she's fantastic in this episode. From that very first line, Merry Christmas, you son of a bitch. It really sets the tone that this is like heightened reality. She really gets it, what this is, and that a lot of it depends on her just being kind of bonkers in this entire
over
episode.
the top a little bit. Like, I think that's
very
what's kind
over
of
the top
fun
tone.
about
That's
the comic bookiness of it all,
Yeah, it's very much played. I think if the first episode captures the gritty tone of some of the true crime aspect of EC Comics, this definitely captures the kind of wackier tone of EC Comics. It's gruesome but also funny aspect of horror. Sort of like a Sam Raimi kind of tone to everything. If you want to give a modern equivalent to it. And Larry Drake
was in a Sam Raimi movie. He was in Darkman.
He was in Darkman, but he got his start in a TV made for TV movie called Night of the Scarecrow.
Yep.
Which is fantastic. One of the most terrifying made for TV movies from
Charles Durning,
early 80s. Charles Durning.
I feel like it was like even late 70s. Yeah.
Was it late 70s? We'll have to look it
Charles
up. It
Durning
might
is
be
the
that
town
early.
post office man who's like the bad guy. He works at the post office.
He's sort of the equivalent of the evil town sheriff, but he's the evil town postmaster. Which okay, but the movie is terrific. I highly recommend tracking it down. It's a real.
Scarecrows are awesome.
Scarecrows are just inherently scary. It's the scariest thing in the Batman universe. It's come on. But
he was also on L.A. Law too.
So that's what he was coming off of from this. Was L.A. Law. I forget the character's name, but he played.
He played like the male guy at the
yeah,
law office.
the postmaster
Mail guy.
general of the
Yeah, of LA law.
it's the shared
He
post
delivered
office
his-
universe. But it was a mentally challenged character, and he won an Emmy for that role. And it was
Oh, yeah, I remember.
he was very much like the nice guy that you kind of felt sorry for. Who, I remember
Mhm.
one episode, they're like, try to set him up on a date, and it's very cute, very much 180 degrees away from the character he plays in this episode, which I think must be why he wanted to do it. Was like, I'm tired. I played, 5
Yeah.
seasons of the nicest guy in the world
Mhm.
on LA
I think
Law.
it's
And this, I think, led him to then just playing villains after this, because
he's
he
Dr.
plays
Giggles too.
he played in Dr. Giggles, the first Dark Horse Entertainment movie, and the main villain in Darkman, and he's really great in both of those, and he's great in this episode, where I think he only has the one line right at the very end of the episode,
The end.
where he says
Yeah.
"naughty" or "nice,"
Oh.
and that was
Yeah, and that was it. And then, but so he gets a SAG card for that. But then throughout, he is giggling, like goofy noises and guttural expressions are coming out of him every time he struggles with Mary Ellen
Yes.
in a scene or something. Because he's always like, just like doing that. And it brings a lot of life to the character as being this sort of like escaped mental institution patient,
Yeah, they really go full bonkers with that role, where he almost feels like he's a puppet. Like, he reminded me of the Crypt Keeper puppet, honestly. He's making all these like giggling and noises, and it's just crazy. Now, what's kind of different is the surprise ending with the girl letting Santa in. I think that kind of is totally lost in this episode, because he goes from climbing up the outside of the house, and the woman just runs downstairs and thinks everything's fine, and then it's clear that the little girl brought him in, right? There's no...
Right. Well, they do after she kills Marshall Bell. There's a couple of things that happen that I think are so interesting. Well, she goes up to her daughter's room to check on her because her daughter's awake, and she's like, "You got to go to bed. I need to get rid of this body, and you can't be up for it." Obviously, she doesn't say that, but her daughter's warm, so she asks to open the window, and then she opens the window. What do we call this? Chekhov's window, because this is how he's eventually going to get into the house.
Right, and it's literally snowing outside, which is
snowing.
Crazy to me. I'm not a parent, but you are. Would you ever do that? It's like, okay. Of course, this is a woman who would have who just murdered her evil stepfather. There is a little moment when the little girl comes downstairs, Carol comes downstairs right after she's murdered Marshall Bell, and says, like, I saw Santa. Santa's outside. And there's a great shot which I referenced a little earlier, where Marshall Bell is in the foreground in a split diopter, and they're in the background, and they're both in focus. This very Orson
from
Welles
the little girl's
type shot, and then the little girl says, "Good night," whatever his name
Joseph.
is,
Joseph. They retain that from the comic, Joseph.
And there's like a sad quality to it. Like, clearly she hates. Everyone hated this guy, so they almost justify. They almost justify it a little bit more, that Joseph, had it coming a little bit. I think maybe to get you on her side, maybe to get you on.
I think so. But what's also interesting is his mom has a side piece that she calls later, because this is a part of a bigger plan, right? So she goes upstairs to put her kid to bed, and then she's got to call her lover. But before that, their daughter goes like, did you get everything you want for Christmas? And again, like, this is Mary Ellen Trainor, like, killing it already, like, literally and figuratively. But she goes, "I already got it, sweetheart. I already got it." And it's almost like those times in life where you dramatically say something twice are so fun to me. And when you can put that into a movie, because people don't really ever do that, but like, this was awesome. This was awesome.
I think she really got the tone of
Yeah.
the episode with her portrayal was going to be like, okay, I'm going to play everything at an 11. Like this is where it's very, I mentioned Sam Raimi, but it's sort of like how Bruce Campbell plays everything in the Evil Dead movies. It's like that level of sort of camp. There's a camp quality to it, but it's not bad camp. It's like really great. You're with it and you're smiling with her all the time.
Well, then I think that's Fred Dekker, because Fred Dekker, he did Night of the Creeps too, which has a lot of humor in it, and a lot of we see a lot of that in the Monster Squad, obviously. Is she a version? But then the answering machine, she calls and leaves a message.
Oh, I love her lover's answering machine message. What does it say?
His name is, "You've called the Vic Monster. Leave your name, number, and measurements." Just like, of course, 1989.
I love that.
She doesn't sigh or anything.
That's who she killed. That's who she killed her husband for. Was this guy who you would expect would not be taking measurements anymore if he's with this lady.
Exactly.
Now.
He should have changed that message machine, or she should have paused and be like, you know what, maybe I won't do this.
Yeah, that was like the still being on Tinder after you're in a relationship of the day. It's like, why do you still have a Tinder profile? Why is your answering machine message still asking for measurements? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that we see the Pleasantville newspaper at this point too. It's kind of like, it's not
a call. So that was a call out.
That's the callback.
Callback. There's another callback on the radio where he says the patient has escaped from Gaines Psychiatric Hospital.
Oh,
and then later she calls the police and gets Sergeant Felstein, which is a reference to Al Filstein. So there's at least 3 EC comic references in this episode.
Well, and then like one thing I noticed about the episode at this point is it's like, and I think this is the Zemeckis of it all, and working with Dean Cundey probably, is every shot feels well choreographed. Like if you want to use a film, school reference, like the mise en scène of each scene is so wonderfully laid out, like going from like the split diopter shot to like little things like when she goes out to take the body, she leaves the keys inside and the camera kind of pans over or tilt, and then we see the keys drop. Like, so we see that story moment, that beat. Like, these are very carefully storyboarded scenes in this episode that, normally I think people just like to just shoot the handheld and, I'll go crazy and we'll edit. But I feel like everything is carefully plotted out with his 2 weeks that he had to shoot this thing.
Less than 2 weeks, but it was, I think it speaks to, the way Zemeckis thinks visually. He's always a very visual director. And then also his collaboration with Dean Cundey, who he had just done Roger Rabbit with. Mm-hmm. And Dean Cundey, is a legend. He shot Halloween. He shot The Thing.
My favorite movie, The Thing. Yeah.
The Thing. I mean, one of the greatest movies ever made. But one of the great cinematographers. He would go on to shoot a lot of effects-heavy material, but I think is such a skilled cinematographer and already had a shorthand, I think, working with Zemeckis, that much like Walter Hill bringing in his regular camera operator to DP his episode, Zemeckis is working with his regular team, is very comfortable here with Cundey. And then Alan Silvestri, they've done like 20 movies together.
Right.
They've
Alan Silvestri doing like just a simple episode. And a lot of it is other music, like the Nat King Cole that opens it up and gets us all into the mood of Christmas. And there's like a moment when I think it's after she misses Marshall Bell a couple times with the axe, where I am certain there's like one of those Back to the Future, like jingle, like piano, like, like they would do that in Back to the Future. I swear, I think they drop an Easter egg at that moment after she, lays an axe into him outside when she goes outside.
They went right into Back to the Future 2 after this episode. So maybe he had that lying around. It's a much less crazy symphonic score than what we had with Cooder before. Very
Right.
different tone, not that blues or that weird carnival music he was
Mm-hmm.
doing. And it's surprisingly synth heavy too. There's a lot of synth
Yeah, I was
in
surprised
this
by that too.
score. And it reminded me a lot of the Creep Show score, which made me think, did they use some of the Creep Show music as temp score for when they were cutting
Did
it?
Silvestri do the music to Crypt Show?
No, John
Oh, okay.
Harrison did the music, so I wonder how much that influenced this episode or not. Who knows?
Interesting.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We'll never know. Oh, but speaking of the Kundy of it, another Easter egg I was wondering I was catching, her jacket when she goes outside, I swear is a nod to The Thing. I wonder if it's Child's jacket. It's that blue parka,
Yeah.
that almost is like the cover of The Thing. And I was thinking longingly of The Thing at the time, and I was like, I hope this is an Easter egg because please evoke that amazing movie at any point.
I do love how much this episode revolves around her forgetting her keys or getting locked. She gets locked and
She has a tough time with
locked out.
doors. Bad door
She
luck.
gets locked out twice and then locked in once in a closet.
And then she pops the knob off of the closet door when she's stuck in it trying to get the weapon, trying to get a gun. Yeah, she's just got she's allergic to doors.
Yes, so that's the thing I think most people think just happens in movies when the doorknob pops off. I can confirm this happened to me once in a bathroom where the doorknob fell off and I was trapped in a bathroom for hours. So
Oh
it does
God.
happen. This is a true life thing. So watching that gave me traumatic flashbacks
Oh,
to
yeah.
being
Did
trapped.
you go
I had to
fetal?
stop.
Did you?
I had to stop the episode and think about my life and the choices that I've made that have led me up
I mean,
to
I
here.
get it. I've stepped on a rake and it came up and thwacked me in the head. So I've been in that world. And I was
Amazing.
didn't think this was possible, but yep. I just need to one of us needs to slip on a banana peel and we will have achieved what cinema has asked of us to do with props.
A friend of mine did happen to them. She did slip on a banana peel.
Slipped on
and
a
fell.
banana peel?
Yeah. So
and it wasn't playing Mario Kart.
No, this was in real life. She slipped on a banana peel and fell, and then just immediately started laughing at herself because she slipped and fell on him.
Yeah, that's what I did when I knocked myself with my rake. But speaking of slapstick of it all, in those moments of humor and pain, there's a moment of quiet where you think something's going to happen, and then the phone rings super loud, and she just gives the best over-the-top scream to the phone going off.
Yes.
And that's the misdirect because then the tire comes in the window, and obviously, but her scream is so good. Again, moments with Mary Ellen.
I think Mary Ellen becomes a definitive scream queen with this one appearance. That was the one note. So Bill Gaines was still alive when this was being produced, and they showed him the script to this, which I guess originally ended on that close-up of Larry Drake saying naughty or nice. That's how the script ended. He goes, your ending's all wrong. You got to end with her just screaming her head off. She's just got to belt out a scream. That's how you end it.
That is a perfect note because that is one of the notes I had here, which were the fact that we end on the screaming. It just made me think of I love it when movies do this. It reminded me I love the end of Halloween 3 with Tom Atkins just screaming into the phone shut it off. Is that what he's saying? It's so great.
Yes.
And then obviously, Body Snatchers has a great scream at the end. What else do we have that I'm missing from the great scream at the end trope? Close on screaming.
It is great. It's a very movie with a capital M moment that I love, and it's one of the great things that Mary does on this is just this blood curdling scream at the end of the episode.
It was great. It was great.
Bill Gaines' delight.
Yeah, I'm glad he got one final wish if he didn't get to see any other episodes, and he got that one in because I think it's a good note. And she took it and ran with it. And then we get to the ending. We get to the cut. We come back to our Crypt Keeper who removes his mask and shows everyone that it was the puppet underneath there, and has a great line there. Be careful what you ask for Christmas. You might just get it. And it's also hilarious that he has to say this to the audience. Like, I was like, the kid's okay. He goes, he has to tell us not to worry about the kid, and quote, this Santa preferred older women, which was such an interesting thing to just close out with. But, it's grim. We're in a grim world.
Very grim, very appropriate. Yeah. So any other amazing puns from this episode that you kept track of?
Oh, yeah. The beginning, he had some... Crypt Keeper had some great ones at the beginning. He had, there's a clause in my contract. I've got a Christmas goose in my bag. Goose bumps, that is. And then he talks about spreading holiday fear, and then he corrects himself. Cheer. Yeah, that's the ones I wrote down. Those are the pretty good ones.
Those are good.
Crypt Keeper, keeping it real.
Puns.
Yeah, so overall, I again, this is a memorable episode. I'm glad we got to review it and we got to talk a lot about it because it's very exciting and
solid episode. I think one of the most defining Tales from the Crypt episode is this one. It's like classic Tales from the Crypt.
And Christmas horror is fun. I'm a big fan of Christmas horror. So like the fact that we're combining a jolly time with a scary time is just fun, and you have a lot of fun with it because Christmas comes in with a built bag of like tropes itself and just a world that has been painted for you to play with. So I loved it. I loved it. So we should move on to our final segment, right? We
it's
call
time
it
for
the Vault of More.
This is a part of the show where Fred and I make a pun ourselves about Tales from the Crypt and bring more to the episode. With the Vault of More, something that you get home can maybe watch. We're going to recommend it to each other. I'll let you kick it off, Fred.
All right. So riffing off of Christmas horror, I have a Christmas horror recommendation from 1980. It's a movie called To All a Good Night.
Ooh, have we seen it? Have I seen it?
I don't think you've seen it. It's pretty obscure. It's one of the early slasher films. There's a connection between killer Santas. So there was, I think the first representation is in this Johnny Craig comic. Mm-hmm. Right? The first time we get a killer in a Santa costume. Then we get the 1972 adaptation with Santa.
Okay.
In it. And then I think this is the third Killer Santa movie. It predates Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Okay.
It predates all that stuff. It was made in 1980. It's directed by David Hess, who you may know as an actor. He played Krug in Last House on the Left, the main bad guy.
Okay.
Who also wrote a bunch of songs for Elvis. That's mainly what he was known for, was as a songwriter. And so he also did the music for Last House on the Left, and I think he does the music for this movie. The interesting thing about this film is, okay, so a little bit of a spoiler alert if you want anything.
Yep. Spoil me.
There's some discrepancies on when this movie came out. A lot of sources are saying it came out 4 months before Friday the 13th, and then other sources say it came out 2 months after Friday the 13th. Regardless, so the premise is it's a bunch of boarding school girls on Christmas vacation that stay behind, invite all their boyfriends to come stay with them at the mansion that this boarding school is in. It's all shot in
and not
Santa
Black
Barbara.
Christmas, obviously.
Not Black Christmas, but obviously influenced by Black Christmas,
Yeah.
which was kind of the first big American slasher picture, right? In 74.
Yeah.
This stars Jennifer Runyon, who you may know from the original Ghostbusters movie as the pretty blonde
Yes. At the
girl
beginning,
that's
the
at the
shocks.
beginning. Yeah, so
Yes.
she's the star and final girl in this who
Uh-huh.
doesn't have a boyfriend to bring up
Aw. Well,
for
she
the
would meet Bill
weekend.
Murray later. He'd
Yes,
give tests to her
she will
for
meet
psychic abilities.
this man who's 20 years older than her later,
Yeah,
and
this Lothario.
will live happily ever after. So this one, she's like the sad, beautiful blonde woman who doesn't have a boyfriend, and all the other girls are having sex with these guys that they've brought up for the weekend. And then there's a killer Santa Claus going around that's killing
And
them
it is
all.
a Santa Claus.
It's someone dressed with a Santa Claus mask and a Santa suit. At one point, they do dress up in a full suit of armor and kill people with a crossbow, which is an incredible
The Santa
sequence.
does.
The Santa
He puts the armor over his Santa outfit,
Yes.
or does it like a
Yes.
Scooby-Doo?
Yeah. Now there's a twist, and this is the spoiler alert, but I think it's important for when it came out, which is now this movie predates Friday the 13th and Prom Night, and the twist is it's the mother of a girl who died in a prank gone wrong that you see at the beginning of the picture.
Oh my.
Right? So
Wow.
all these proto kind of slasher tropes are in this movie. I don't know if I can say it's exactly a great movie, but it has a lot of interest in it because it's the third Santa killer movie. It's funny, I don't think it got any of the blowback or even that original Tales from the Crypt that Silent Night, Deadly Night did when it came out with the Killer Santa.
It
there were like
so that Silent
boycotts
Night
and whatever.
could run.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation.
crazy.
To All a Good Night. I think it's on Tubi. You can watch it with commercials.
Ooh, all right. Noted.
I'll send you the trailer later, Tim, so you can see.
Yeah, we could post it on our Instagram page too.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
Post a link.
Let me just say,
out.
Adult warning for this trailer and for this movie.
Oh, okay. I hear you.
Adults only. Yes.
Okay, good to know. Well, for my Vault of More, I went on a bit of a journey. Obviously, I was excited that we had a Christmas movie with Mary Ellen Trainor in it because I obviously got the opportunity to say she's in Die Hard, and Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and there's no argument against it. It is 100% a Christmas movie, even though it came out in July. Whatever, it's got a Christmas soundtrack. It's got Christmas imagery.
Hard agree. I agree wholeheartedly with that. Also, this episode, which was a total Christmas episode, came out in June. This is when that was released.
Yeah, see?
So,
exactly. This has happened before. It's not an outlier. And then I wanted to recommend another anthology horror. And for me is a show that I love tremendously. That's an English show, British show called Inside Number 9. And they have an episode called The Devil of Christmas, which I was excited to recommend. It's kind of like what's great about Inside Number 9 is it's like Twilight Zone. It's like this, where there's like an ironic ending, a twist. There's something that kind of flips at the end. And as a viewer, you're just like, thanks for the roller coaster ride. This was awesome. But my problem was I couldn't find it anywhere to rewatch. I saw it like a couple years ago, but BritBox and doesn't have it right now. Even if you subscribe, I was like kind of mad that I couldn't do it. So I pivoted. I did a late night pivot. I'm keeping the theme with Christmas, but I'm going with another anthology from Twilight Zone. It's The Night of the Meek, which I'm not sure if you remember this episode of Twilight Zone. Oh, yes,
with Art Carney, right? Stars Art Carney.
Art Carney is Santa Claus in it, and it's kind of the opposite of what we viewed today, but it's still magical and otherworldly. It was season 2, episode 11. It aired December 23rd, 1960. And yeah, Art Carney is a down on his luck department store Santa who gets fired by his manager on Christmas Eve and stumbles like on a magic bag that produces gifts. And he kind of spends the night doing good things because he's very depressed at the beginning. He's sad to see the world is sad and children are going hungry and children are wanting for things that he wishes he could provide. So that's why he's kind of he's drunk, and this kind of redeems him. And in a strange way at the end, there's like a nice twist where, the person gets what they deserve in a way, if it touches my nose, don't want to spoil it, but like it's a very sweet ending for Art Carney. But yeah, it's like both are Christmas set anthology pieces that take the warmth of the holiday and they kind of twist it. And Crypt does it obviously with dread, and Twilight Zone does it through a pathos of quiet redemption.
Yes, I think that's one of the best Twilight Zone episodes. I think of the whole series is that Night of the Meek.
Yeah.
It's a great,
it's sweet,
like a perfect Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah,
I would say watch that over my recommendation to All a Good Night, which is
well, the good thing is it's available on Paramount Plus if you have it. It should be easy to find, and I think there's always a Twilight Zone marathon. But it was great. Like, it was also shot on video, which was very strange. It's one of the only few Twilight Zone episodes shot on video, so it has this sort of strange, like, old-timey variety show feel to it. It's very strange.
Yeah, I kind of love that texture. I think there are only like 4 episodes that were shot on video where they were experimenting with it.
I read like between 4 and 10, I want to say. I have no idea, but it definitely added a certain interesting look to it. And then it was all snowing and it's in a city. It kind of reminded me a little bit of, you ever see Odd Man Out? That like, it's kind of takes place during Christmas time. Yeah. That Carol Reed, like, sort of like, that's not two totally different movies, but it's just a guy wandering the city on Christmas.
Right.
Yeah, I really, really liked it. And I hadn't seen it for a while. But yeah, you actually look at it. I've got the fact on it. It's only one of 6 Twilight Zone episodes shot on videotape.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah. It gives it a distinct stage play look, which is another thing to say about The Devil of Christmas is that episode is shot on video to give it a stage play quality for a very specific reason, which you have to go find it in order to get to it. But
now I looked it up. Inside Number 9 is available on Apple Plus, but you have to buy it. It's like, I think you have to buy individual episodes.
Okay.
So
I'm
if
trying
you want
to
do it, I highly recommend that show as well. I love the first episode. Sardines is like a great premise.
The second episode is also great. It's funny and there's just like a good wit to like every episode. And the guys that created it, Reese Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton, are really like at the top of their game. And there's just the work that goes into each of these episodes is great, and they love the horror genre, and obviously we're influenced by Tales from the Crypt and horror in general, I think.
Yes, great show, great recommendations all around, except for mine, which comes with the caveat that it's terrible but also great at the same time. So I just want to throw that out there. I know,
watch it with friends.
I know it's a terrible movie, but it's a lot of fun at the same time.
Yeah, I think that should end up on like a Joe Bob Briggs night or something.
It's definitely a Joe Bob movie, definitely.
Yeah, perfect. At the drive-in. Well, everyone, boys and boils and ghouls, we come to the end of another episode.
And if you want to look for us, you can find us online at our email address, which is
ithailsfromthecrypt@gmail.com, or on our Instagram at ithailsfromthecrypt at Instagram on the app.
At Instagram on the app. Yes.
Yeah.
So reach out with any comments, concerns, questions, and Tim will read them.
Ideas.
I won't at all. So no,
I will probably look at them direct. Yes. And then if there's a gem, I'll talk to Fred about it. Thanks again for stopping by, Fred. Shall we say goodbye until next time?
Until next time.
We remain in the crypt. In the crypt.
Bye.
Bye now.
All right.
I like the last time I said I love you.